Therefore, Queen can suck a fat one.
You're still listening. This is our final transmission.
Here, Jamie, it's Final Transmission. It's one horror movie a week from the dawn of time till the end of time. We have two of everything. Two of Snake is on and two of us. It's me, Sam Russo. It's you, Jamie Carruthers. How the heck are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good, actually. I actually got a decent night's sleep last night for the first time in a really long time.
Shut the fuck up. So did I. For the first time in maybe 2 months, I woke up feeling genuinely refreshed. What? Are we in sync? Are our cycles matched?
Yeah, we're Lance Bass and Jerry Fatone. That's me and you. Those are two guys from In Sync, just so you know.
Another reference I do not understand. Good work, though. I liked it once you explained it to me, as usual.
Yeah.
Let's hope the same applies to today's movie.
So today on the Final Transmission podcast, we're covering a movie that is very, very close to my heart.
Yeah.
We're talking about Brian De Palma, the director of Sisters and Carrie and Snake Eyes, Scarface.
Good grief.
And he directed a little rock musical by the name of Phantom of the Paradise. Which
sure did.
I only came to relatively recently, within the last sort of 7 years. I think I got the Arrow Blu-ray.
Really?
And it blew my little cock off. I love it so much.
I assumed you were born watching this. I thought this was like a proper dyed-in-the-wool day one classic, but that's relatively recent for you.
Yeah.
You've probably only watched 80,000 movies since then.
Yeah, I think I might have watched this 30 times.
That's interesting. That's a lot.
7 years. That's quite a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a shit ton. That's an ass load of times. I want to just totally clear the air early here. I think I might hate rock music. I'm just learning this about myself now, so I'm processing it via the medium of podcasting. I just wanted to fucking get that out there before people started wondering what's wrong with me.
Well, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit before we get into the episode properly and get your view on the rock musical more generally.
Well, here's where we're going to have problems. I am going to need you to name some rock musicals so that I can tell you how I feel about them, I guess.
Okay, the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Big fan.
Yeah?
Live. Less so in, like, the home format.
So the Rocky Horror Show, the production you like, but the movie version less so? Or you like the movie version in the cinema as a communal experience, but not as a...
There's nothing like it in the cinema. It's nuts. There's people like I remember going to the cinema where I live and seeing people in leather who worked at the school I went to. Do you know what I mean? Like people really come out the walls for that, and that's great. And I mean, I've loved that movie forever. I think I was probably allowed to watch it too young, and it was the first thing I ever played. The first music I ever performed for another human being was I played bass in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. When I was a very young teen. I must have been 13 or 14. And obviously a sanitized like school version.
What was this sweet transvestite from Transylvania, transsexual Transylvania? Like,
just going to ask myself that exact same question.
Sanitized version of that. Sweet little nice guy from
Haverhill. Yeah, something. I can't remember. I could probably dig. I've got a folder in my mum's loft that has like all the music shit that I've ever done. I bet the program's in there somewhere.
Nice.
So yeah, I fell in love with that very early. It kind of opened my mind a little bit to, the fun of filth, I guess. So an early influence in my filthy mind, I guess. You love
the Rocky Horror Picture Show,
right?
Yeah, I do. I watch it quite regularly. I think that I quite enjoy doing, which is fucking the worst thing that anybody does in the world ever, is I will watch various different reaction YouTubers watching the same movie. So I'll just like on a loop throughout the day watch 15 different YouTubers watch the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
That's complete insanity, Jamie. You're
I
watching
know.
other people watch a movie that you're watching.
Well, I don't watch the movie. They're watching the movie, and
you can't even see the movie.
Well, you can, but like because of copyright on YouTube, they only like clip out bits. So like, yeah. But I'll fixate on a movie or an episode of Buffy, and I'll watch 25 different people react to that one specific episode.
How are they reacting to the Rocky Horror Picture Show?
They're, I don't know, enjoying it, laughing, stopping it and talking about the music and the...
Oh, right, like they pause it and break it down kind of thing.
Yeah.
A bit like a podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that's understandable then.
But like I say, I get fixated on one thing. I had like a Hot Fuzz week. Like while I was working from home, I watched 30 different people watch Hot Fuzz.
Jesus Christ.
Because
it's like 50 hours.
It's just the bullshit that I do in order to not exist in silence for more than 1 second.
Yeah, that's really bad, bud. You need to get that looked at.
If the world goes silent for too long, I will shoot myself in the face. So...
all I do is beg for silence. I basically just crawl around on my hands and knees all day trying to find silence. I think there's some universal balance knocked askew by your obsession with constant noise and my desire for permanent silence.
Yeah.
We fucked it. So Rocky Horror Picture Show, yes.
Yeah. Tommy.
I will go as far as say I don't really like the music, but sure. Tommy, I've avoided it like the plague my whole life. I've never seen it.
Tommy is amazing.
No,
it's like being put in a washing machine with all of your pans, but in the best way possible.
That sounds like what you want to happen to you 24/7 and something that would kill me in about 12 seconds. No. Is it The Who?
It is. I mean, the Who, the music is by The Who. The album was by The Who. The Who don't feature very prominently in it. So it's all The Who songs, but they're being covered by Tina Turner and Elton John. It's incredible. I saw that around the same time that I saw Rocky Horror Picture Show for the first time. And it really made a dent in my brain.
I think it would do the same to me. Does it star David Spade and Chris Farley?
No.
And I ain't watching it. No, it sounds like it sucks ass.
Based on
I'm not watching
what? Based on me saying how great it is and
it's a rock musical with The Who. No.
It's a rock musical by The Who. The Who are barely in it.
That's even worse. The Who are kind of hot. There'll be something to look at least.
There is a scene where 60s starlet Anne Margaret bathes herself in beans whilst riding a giant sausage.
I don't need to see that.
Yes, you do.
No,
every 15-year-old boy
to
needs to see that. What bores you to tears? Really hot women writhing around in beans.
Everything about the rock musical, all the zany antics and the bathing in beans. Get fucked. No thanks.
I just don't understand. I think you take a position and then you build your life around that position rather than letting yourself truly experience and enjoy things.
It's just called having opinions, man. Listen, I've experienced enough of the tropes of rock musicals to know that I've got better things to do with my time than watch them all to find out if I like them, and then decide it's what I already knew in the first place. I'm not going to watch Tommy Boy when there's a million. It's just called Tommy. Watch. What is it?
Tommy Boy is the movie with Chris Farley and David Spade.
Yeah, I know, but I thought they were both called Tommy Boy.
No.
I'd watch Tommy Gun, the rock musical where The Who are gunned down by Chicago gangsters.
Yeah, or by that one male pornography actor.
Let me hit you with a couple of rock musicals, Poindexter. American Idiot.
They didn't make a movie of it, so I haven't seen it because they didn't make it into a movie.
We will
go to
rock
the fucking
you.
West End to listen to Green Day songs. Fuck off.
Why?
Because that's...
you just watch YouTube reactions of it instead.
Like, maybe I will.
Straight.
Maybe that's what I'll do.
We Will Rock You.
We Will Rock You is...
Queen.
Yes, Queen. But it is a rip-off of...
Yes, Queen.
Kilroy Was Here by Styx, which was their sort of rock opera concept record that they made into like a TV movie in the early 80s. And I love Styx and I love Kilroy Was Here. And therefore Queen can suck a fat one.
Queen can suck a fat one. You heard it here first, Rue. Your favourite band. Jailhouse Rock.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Help.
I
Richard
will-
Lester's first Beatles movie.
I will not. Yeah, like the Beatles are fine. Head by the Monkees.
Slade in Flame. All right, here's one that we can probably ruin together. Rock and Roll High School.
I love Rock and Roll High School. I know that it's not very good,
Yeah, it fucking sucks.
but I love it with a special. I was 15. I liked the Ramones. I discovered the Ramones because I watched a movie called Carpool with Tom Arnold in it, and they listened to "I Want to Be Sedated" repeatedly while driving their children to school, and it just made me fall in love with. I think that might have been the first time I ever heard punk rock.
Oh, interesting.
And
I Want to Be
was
Sedated.
like-
It's been in a lot of movies, right? Bit of a
Yeah.
pop banger.
I wanted to start a band called the Screaming Idiots because in the movie Tom Arnold is like singing along to "I Want to Be Sedated," and David Paymer says, "Oh, Tom Arnold is like, do you like this?" And David Paymer's like, "Yeah, I love everything by the Screaming Idiots." And I was like, "That's a pretty
It's a
great name
great
for a
band.
band."
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
I think the problem with Rock and Roll High School is that the Ramones are great and the movie sucks. And therefore you watch it for the Ramones and the bits they're in are fucking agony, but still quite fun. But everything else about it is fucking trash dick.
Yeah, I would always watch like Raw or End of a Century before because they're better. I like the Ramones being candid rather than being like, "Oh, hey, we're the Ramones. I like pizza."
Yeah,
Or
it's
whatever.
so painfully dumb. Yeah, it's terrible.
But I love
One,
it.
I tell you what,
Can't be
here's a rock
objective about
opera
it.
that. Yeah, no, I can't say I love it though. I've watched it a lot and I've just lost its.
What about the
That's a
sequel
glimmer
with
for me.
Corey Feldo?
Refuse to watch.
It's got Corey Feldman in it, and you suckle at the Feld teat.
I sure do. I found one that I would watch that I
Yeah?
haven't watched yet. Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
It's great, really good, really
Yeah, I
really
thought you'd
good.
like it.
Yeah.
Based on the description alone, I thought you'd like it.
I think somehow rock musicals are better when they're queer. I don't know why that is, but like Rocky Horror, Hedwig, I think there's a queer thing that runs through like Little Shop of Horrors. Hamilton, I guess, is pretty queer, right? It's just full of dudes.
Make it queer. Hamilton's pretty queer, right? Sure. Yeah. The thing is, I don't dislike musicals. I like a lot of musicals. Rock musicals just bum me out.
I just don't know. I don't
would-
know why. It's just like
Because it's all the like celebrating all the shit about rock music. I think sucks balls. It's all like, oh look, flares, but they're even bigger now because it's a musical. And look, fucking these kind of songs. Oh god, it just
But I don't-
fucking hurts.
Is that what you think
Glitter.
this movie is?
No spoilers, bud.
I mean, you
We're
can
in
tell me.
pre-spoiler territory.
You can.
Huh?
We're not spoiling the movie, but we can spoil your opinion.
Ask me the question as a full sentence, so I don't put myself in the stocks here.
Do you think that this movie is just, hey, rock music is cool. Here are some flares,
Oh,
but
no.
they're bigger because it's rock music, or because
No,
it's
not at
musical.
all.
Okay.
I mean, elements of it seem to be a satire of that, if anything.
absolutely, yeah. This is a huge takedown of that whole shtick, I would say.
Yeah, but that's the problem with satire is you have to bear the thing that you're satirizing for 90 minutes while it's happening. It's still there. Like, even, that's why political satire is so difficult because you still have to acknowledge the reality of what's being satirized. So it's hard. If you don't like something, watching it satirized poorly is real hard work.
But I think, well, obviously, we're going to get into deep Fight About the Paradise stuff. But I think, like, some of the stuff that it satirizes specifically, like the late 60s, early 70s, like, doo-wop revival band Sha Na Na, the Juicy Fruit stuff is way better than Sha Na Na ever were. And that's because you can take the thing that they did and give it to a songwriter that's actually good, which Paul Williams, who wrote the music for this, he wrote some of the greatest songs ever written. He wrote Rainbow Connection from the Muppet movie.
Yeah, that's his number one hit in my opinion.
He wrote "We've Only Just Begun" by the Carpenters. Like,
we've only just begun. What a sexy song.
I think there's just something sort of special and magic about him. And he plays Swan, and he's 4'1". So, all right, let's get back on track. So, Paul Williams wrote the music. It stars Paul Williams as Swan. You've got William Finley as Winslow Leach, who is, I would say, a sort of thinly veiled Warren Zevon kind of character. And you know more than most, Sam, how I feel about Warren Zevon. I love him.
You have big boners over Warren Zevon.
I do. He's the greatest. I think nobody writes songs like him.
Why do you think this guy's Warren Zevon?
Because he looks like him. He's dressed like him. He plays the song that he sings when he sings a song as himself.
Yeah.
At the beginning, the Faust song is basically a Warren Zevon song.
Oh,
obviously written by Paul Williams. Warren Zevon's first record came out in 1969. His second record didn't come out until 74, so probably after this. But I think like he was a big guy in like that Palo Alto, like Jackson Browne type place, and also we know that Paul Williams used to hang out in that zone. So I think it's pretty fair to say that Paul Williams maybe even like by accident sort of brought some of that weird outsider, like doesn't look like a rock star, but can write these sort of fairly incredible but offbeat and not like a normal pop song type songs, and that's an absolute Warren Zevon type thing, really.
Yeah, sure.
It also stars Jessica Harper, your favourite from Suspiria. I don't know why you don't like Suspiria, but we've litigated that, and now we're going to litigate this instead.
We didn't do Suspiria, did we?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
It was like episode 4 or something.
Forgot all about that.
It was like 80
Well, then you do know
ago.
why I don't like it. You know better than I do by the sound of it. It's not that I don't like it. I do like it. Just won't ever watch it again.
Yeah. Okay.
Done.
It's wrong.
Ticked off.
I'm fucking
Don't need to
ticked
watch
off
it
now,
twice.
mate.
Yeah, I know you are. You fucking came into this chomping at the knob.
It's because I know that you didn't like it. Normally, I'm glad that I know
How do
that
you know that? That's what I want to know. Who you been
because
talking to?
your fiance told me.
Well, she's getting it later, let me tell you. You don't let trade secrets slip to the enemy. That's rule number 1.
Yeah, Loose
of a
Lips
relationship.
sync podcasts.
Yeah, no talking outside the relationship, young lady.
But I like that I know, because with Cat People, I came into that episode ready to have a good faith conversation. And now I know where you stand on Phantom of the Paradise.
I don't think you can possibly know where I stand, because I don't know where I stand.
Well,
all I know is that she watched it with me and heard me groan a lot. And I said some things, sure, in the moment. But, people change, man.
you know what they say? Person tells someone something, and then they tell 2 friends, and then they tell 2 friends, and so on,
Yep.
and so on.
So on and so on. Good work. Good from you.
Thanks, mate.
So why don't you drop a synopsis of this absolute fucking maze of a movie?
I mean, it's not that hard to explain.
Depends how reductive you want to be.
Winslow Leach is an aspiring singer-songwriter who plays his cantata based on the novel Faust, which is heard by record impresario Swan, who decides that is the perfect music to open up his new rock theatre, The Paradise. But he doesn't want Winslow Leach to sing it. He wants to steal that music. And so he does. And then he gets Winslow Leach thrown in jail for a hot second. And Winslow Leach escapes. And after a freak accident, becomes the Phantom of the Paradise, who will stop at nothing to have his music performed by the people that he wants to perform it. And then that's the movie. See that? That wasn't so
Sure.
fucking hard, was it? I did
Not
that
really,
while
I
inhaling
guess.
carbon monoxide. So
Just huffing it. Yeah, I guess that is the movie. Would you call this movie avant-garde?
no.
You wouldn't go that far. What would you call it?
I think
You
it's
have
like
to
a live
elevate a
action
pitch.
cartoon.
Okay. but a rock musical. A live-action cartoon rock musical horror.
Yeah. Comedy,
And you...
fantasy drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go through them again. Live
Action cartoon, rock musical, comedy, fantasy horror.
I like movies like Mud. Okay.
Your fucking
Right.
name is Mud around here.
Tell me about it. Fuck me, I can feel the hostility.
Why don't we take a break, Sam? Come back, and then you can tell me all about your little fucking feelies, all right?
Deal.
Whoa, holy shit. I guess that's why they call it Phantom Power.
I'm back, Sam. Are you back, Sam?
Oh, so back. Yep.
Just want to say before we move on that if you want to see my house get raided by a gas man to check for a carbon monoxide leak, you should subscribe to the Patreon, because in the uncut
Because
Patreon
that
version,
actually happened.
just $5 a month will get you to see a little flash of a gas man's high-vis jacket.
Yeah, while I read from a Raymond Pettibone book and don't even realize what's happening. Welcome to the Patreon, people, where dreams become reality.
Where phantoms become the paradise.
Pretty good.
All right, Sam. Carburetors, man. That's what life is all about.
Deep breath. So, let's go in hard with the Phantom of the Paradise. Tell me why it's great. Go on.
The first 50 minutes of this movie are the greatest movie ever made. The last 40 minutes of this movie are fine.
I paused this movie thinking there must be 5 minutes left, and 25 minutes had elapsed. Why does it feel so long?
I don't think it does, but I do think that like when you get past the beef stuff, there is a grind to get to the end. So I will
Jumps the shark at beef.
Yeah, I think like everything beyond that, just it never reaches that height again, because the highs were so high for me. It just becomes a challenge to get through the rest of it.
What's a couple of the highs for you then? What are the dizzy highs before the beef?
I mean, I think the opening number, the what is it? We'll Remember You, Eddie, or whatever it's called. I think that is a fantastic song. I think Sha-Na-Na, the band that they're spoofing there, were such fucking dog shit, like nostalgia, bullshit, awful crap. That like the way that they spoof that by having them be like super horrible greaser types. Like Sha-Na-Na's shtick was that they like dressed like greasers and they sang like doo-wop songs. But like all of like the choreography of them like doing all the fuck you stuff and then having a fight with a nerd halfway through and then like jumping on top of a girl and stuff. I thought it's just really fun and silly. And so I think it's just a great way to start a movie. Really a good way to hook me personally right into the movie.
That's why I was in so much pain through a lot of this movie, is that song hooked me so hard, and I thought, oh my god, has Jamie teed me up a horror doo-wop musical? I could die. I'm so happy. And then that song ends, and for me, I'm afraid to say, it was all downhill from there. That song is magnificent, and the story's cool, and the action is so silly, and I guess I didn't really realize it was satirizing Sha-Na-Na at the time. Yeah, that was a high for me.
But like, I love almost all of the songs. Like,
yeah, I fucking hate him.
The Faust song that Winslow sings when it's just him and piano, I think is great. Like the fucking upholstery horrible version of the Faust song that the Beach Bums play later in that whole sort of Touch of Evil scene, I think is so fun. And like, I love the idea that we're spoofing the Beach Boys. And a thing that they're also spoofing there is Paul Williams is spoofing himself, because he would write songs and then give them to record labels. And he would write songs for one artist and they would give them to like the shittiest like pop bullshit, and they would like rewrite them, and they would make them into toothless shit versions of his own songs. And so like he's taking the piss out of himself there, and like the industry that he is a part of. And so I think that's really fun. And also I love the little spoken word bit at the beginning, the carburetors, man, that's what life is all about. I just think that's really funny.
Yeah. That sequence was great. I wish I had more to say about the songs. I just thought they were so fucking boring and really, really hard to get through. I'm not going to say anything else about the music apart from that first one, which was a banger.
The big song, the song that like Winslow and Jessica Harper's character like duet together, Phoenix, they duet together like in the rehearsal or in the audition scene. I think it's that I like it then. I struggle with it when we hear it 5 more times throughout the movie. Although I do like the beef thing, and I love all of the beef stuff because I think it's really incisive. In like 1973, when like this whole sort of glam stuff wasn't hugely played out, and I think it's really interesting to see that people were already sort of over it or aware that it was a fabrication. Like the idea that like these so-called like tough guys like Alice Cooper would like come on stage in all this makeup and look sort of ride the line between like masculinity and femininity in a way that is sort of cool and plays well on stage, but then off stage they're just fucking prissy little theater boys or whatever.
Sure.
I thought that was really cool and incisive, and like the overarching thing is just the look of the movie. The fact that it looks like Brian De Palma is a very visual director generally. Like he's also like a bit like Tarantino, like one of those directors that lifts and shifts bits of his influences like wholesale rather than just like internalizing it and then letting it come out through his own voice. Like, so the way that he like reinterprets stuff that we've seen before, like the bomb scene, which is from A Touch of Evil with in the Beach Bums, like the split screen and everything, that's like straight from that movie. And like the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, Grand Guignol thing with the undead who played just before Beef. My issue with that song is that the main guy in the Juicy Fruits or the Beach Bums or the Undead, because it's all the same band, looks so much like one of the guys from The Who when he's got that makeup on. It really, really throws me off.
Right.
But so that's my only issue with that. But and maybe the I don't quite understand if they're killing the audience and it looks like shit special effects, or if they're pretending
they're
to
supposed
kill.
to be like plants. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like chopping off mannequin bits to resurrect beef, or you know, whatever the fuck is happening there.
Like I figured it was that, but I could never quite tell because the movie doesn't. The movie's never clear, and the movie never has good enough special effects for you to be like, well, that's clearly fake.
Yeah.
And like obviously,
I think you're supposed to feel that way, right? You're supposed to not know. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I honestly didn't even really know if they were going as far as to have Swan have the whole thing be a performance. You know, he's not actually in league with the devil. He doesn't have a blood pact with Satan, and that is just a shitty mask that he's wearing. That didn't turn out to be a thing, but the film kind of puts you in a position where you don't know how much is theater and how much is reality, I guess.
Yeah, but I guess like what they're doing in that scene is like they're showing that like the theatrics of the stage show, it doesn't matter. Like all the people just want to see blood, whether it's fake blood or whether it's, you know, Beef being electrocuted by a big electric and big neon bolt from the sky.
Yeah, and they'll just bay for more, basically.
Yeah, to the point where they get so
bloodlust.
whipped up by bloodlust that they start stabbing their big idol, Swan.
Yeah, interesting. How do you feel about Beef being Bud the Chud?
I mean, I love that. I love Garrett Graham. I think he's one of those guys that pops up every now and then in a cheap 80s horror movie, and I'm all for it.
He seems great, and he reminds me a lot of Rue off record. Yeah.
A thing that actively annoys me about Phantom of the Paradise is that everybody sings their own songs apart from Garrett Graham.
Well, Winslow doesn't.
Yeah, he does.
Does he?
He does at the beginning when
He's lip syncing, isn't he? It looks like he's lip syncing really bad.
they're all lip syncing to
It's
music.
actually him recorded, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
But Beef
He's
is like
dog shit lip syncer. Jesus.
But yeah, Beef is like a country singer.
Right.
The guy who's doing the voice.
Yeah.
Ray Thompson or something like that, I want to say. But that bugs me because, like, I don't think you have to be good. When he's singing in the shower, or when he's not in the shower yet. When he's like trying to sing the song, he's like, "This is written for a chick, man." He's like, I think that performance is fine. Like, it doesn't have to be good in order to.
I
to
guess
play.
having him do that voice for an entire musical number might be a bit much for some people. I don't know.
Would it have been a bit much for you?
You fucking A right, it would. It was enough as it was. Believe me. What did you think about So you enjoy the music in the film. That's interesting to me.
I do. I like most of it. I think some of the ballads are a little bit ballady for me.
Yeah.
But I think the way that, I Mentioned Styx in the intro, but I think the way that Paul Williams writes music is very similar to the way that Dennis DeYoung writes music. And I think they have quite a similar sensibility. And I think it's weird that in 1983, Styx released an album called The Paradise Theatre, which is about a real theatre in Chicago. And it's like a concept album about the fictional life, or a fictionalized version of the life of this theatre that was being destroyed. But it's interesting to me that that happened, and I think that their songwriting style is so similar. Like, before Tommy Shaw joined Styx, they basically only did big ballady ballads. And I love, like I say, I love Styx, but yeah, that's an interesting thing to me. Not something I've ever seen anybody else talk about when they're talking about this movie.
Yeah. Good connective tissue there. Deep reference.
Yeah.
Do the years line up? When was Styx doing all this shit?
So Styx I think they started in the 70s, in the early 70s. But like,
this is 74.
It's hard because like the songs that Paul Williams writes more generally don't sound like Styx songs. We've only just begun. You would never mistake that for Come Sail Away.
Right.
But the songs that he wrote for this, the specific sort of big ballads, I think sound so much like Styx songs. It's weird.
He's a composer, isn't he? So
yeah.
I guess at his core, he can write anything, I imagine. He could probably write a fucking reggae song 1 minute and a country song the next. I mean, the guy obviously has the broadest ear for music imaginable. He's probably one of
But like,
those
I don't
guys.
think that the world knew that before they made this movie.
Oh, right, okay.
Like, he was just like a guy he did a bit of acting, he did a bit of singing. He was like working for a label, A&M, like writing music for them.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe he's spreading his wings a little bit here, stretching his fucking whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
But
I read an interview where he was like, I couldn't get paid. I couldn't take a piss in the music industry. I'm like, I don't even know why the guy at the label recommended me for this movie, but thank fuck they did.
Interesting. What do you think he thinks about the movie?
He loves it. I mean, I know that he at least loves the legacy of it and is glad to have been a part of it. He's composed some songs for like a stage musical version of it. He's very grateful to the fandom of it. So like some interesting things about it is that Daft Punk met at a screening of Phantom of the Paradise.
That does not surprise me in the least.
Yeah. So like,
let me guess, Noel Fielding based his entire identity on Phantom of the Paradise?
I mean, I don't know about that, but he's definitely seen it, hasn't he?
Fucking right, yes.
So yeah, so like he loves that legacy of it. Obviously, the movie has some quite big or vocal fans. Edgar Wright is one of them. Edgar Wright was on the James Corden fucking chat show in America, whatever chat show he does. And James Corden asked him, like, out of all the movies you've seen, if you had to just watch one of those movies on repeat for the rest of your life, what would it be? And he said, without even pausing, he said Phantom of the Paradise.
Wow. That would be approximately 11 minutes for me, I think. That's as far as I'd make it.
The main, I think, selling point of this movie is the way that it looks, the way that it's shot in a way that like no movie up until this point was shot.
Yeah, that's why I was asking if you thought it was kind of avant-garde, because it does have a look to it that seems fairly groundbreaking in parts, at least. I mean, I know it's drawing on some really obvious influences. It's recreating some scenes shot by shot from other movies, but there's a weird kind of patina to the movie and a strange kind of color palette and texture that feels like it's moving more in an avant-garde direction, and then it sort of snaps back to something fairly conventional. It is shot in a very interesting way, and the look of it is obviously very consciously constructed. It's De Palma. It's not fucking thrown together. It does some really interesting things, for sure.
I don't think De Palma is trying to be avant-garde, though. I think he's just so this movie came out just after Sisters, which is like one of my favorite De Palma movies, which is like a slow burn psychological thriller. And the feeling that I get from Phantom of the Paradise is that this is like his holiday.
This is how he likes to go on holiday.
Yeah, that's what I think. This is a movie. This is him making a fun movie because he wants to do something fun.
Well, I think that's very central to the experience of Phantom of the Paradise, is that if this is your brand of fun, then you're having loads of fun from start to finish. If this is not your brand of fun, then you're just kind of like, oh, I understand why people enjoy this, but I just cannot.
So I thought, like, I didn't think that you would love it, but I thought that you would at least enjoy it based on the very pointed referencing to like old Universal movies and like big Gothic literature and things like that. But you couldn't get on with it.
Yeah, I mean, you can reference that stuff and still be doing something completely obnoxious to me. Yeah. And all of those references are things that I like. There's loads of... I like any movie that just sort of shamefacedly reenacts one of the most famous scenes of all time, the Psycho shower scene, with a plunger over a guy's mouth. I think that's, that is fun. And there are lots of moments in this movie that are individually in isolation fun to me. But the whole thing just has this nauseous, queasy rock musical vibe the whole way through. And I think the best thing I can say about it is that it feels very fresh and interesting when you watch it. It's wholly unpredictable. Nothing in this movie sticks to any kind of traditional trajectory in my experience. The fact that he gets sent to Sing Sing immediately for basically no reason with like a 12-second Mickey Mouse trial is hilarious to me. And then when he gets there, they pull his teeth out and he goes berserk and kills the guy with a radio because he's forced to listen to the fucking Juicy Fruits all day. That is gold. So funny.
Did you relate to that at that moment?
Absolutely. I've spent so many hours of my life forced to listen to dog shit radio on factory assembly lines and honestly fantasized about murdering people while in that position. It was wholly relatable.
Yeah, I think the fun thing and the most unpredictable thing about him getting sent to prison is that he immediately escapes within like 15 seconds.
Box. Yeah. And that's full on Acme. Like it's such a Warner Brothers cartoon moment. And the problem for me is some of that stuff just doesn't really fit for me. Like it's great in isolation. I think it's a hilarious skit, and it's pretty, far ahead of its time for the time period to mash that together with rock musical sensibilities, expanded from satire and drenched in lots of popular culture and movie references, and like you said, literary nods, deep Goethe references, all this kind of stuff. A really interesting fucking, massive collage of great influences. And so much of it is really beautifully done, obviously, and superbly executed. Some of it's actually pretty well acted in a weird way, in that classic way we talk about where it feels like everyone's in a different movie. But none of that really, for me, conspires into any kind of emotional resonance. And that's really what my movie watching experience hangs on, is am I feeling anything in this movie? And the answer was just a big fat no, unfortunately. There's lots of fun. Artistically, I think it's a fucking little miracle. It's amazing that they made this, I think. It's wonderful that it exists. But I just didn't find it entertaining, really.
Obviously, you talk a little bit about the trappings of a rock musical.
Yeah.
It's worth noting that this is basically the first movie version of one.
Yeah, and that again, this is why I'm so worried that maybe I don't like rock music.
Yeah. But like,
I think I just don't like being forced to watch rock songs. That's quite possibly torture to me.
like this came out 2 years before, or came out a year before Rocky Horror Picture Show. It came out a year before Tommy. They actually paid Universal off a bunch of money because the Universal Studios were like, you've taken specific things from our adaptations of Phantom of the Opera that don't exist in the original novel.
Sure. Okay.
So this is infringing on our copyright. And so and they believe that if it had gone to court, they would have won. But they knew that Tommy was in production. So they were like, just pay him off so we can get this movie out before Tommy comes out so we can be the one.
Right.
And
it wasn't the one.
It wasn't the one. Not
There's
for
no
audiences
way this
at
was
the
ever
time.
going to have mainstream appeal. Come on.
No.
Not
Well,
a
it
chance
depends
in
where
hell.
you're from. If you're from a small fucking... If you're from Winnipeg,
Yeah.
they love it. It ran...
Why in Winnipeg?
Just played really well in Winnipeg. Like it ran for over a year. Winnipeg is a city that now loves Phantom of the Paradise. They have a Phantom of the Paradise festival there every year.
Wow. Well, like we always said, open-minded Canadians doing good things for film.
Like it basically became what the Rocky Horror Picture Show was for the rest of the world.
And Hedwig and the Angry Inch, people go absolutely bananas for that and dress up and stuff, right? It's very much lodged in pop culture nowadays.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. And I can see why. I can see why it has its, absolutely feverish fandom, like serious dress up and sing along fandom. And I fully understand that the shots that we get of the Phantom, lurking with that creepy mask and the pretty cool makeup and strange, Darth Vader-esque chest stuff is really beautiful. Like when he's on the skylight watching the devil fuck his girlfriend. Yeah, great fun. Love that. Melodramatic, silly fun, but, inching closer to some kind of emotional resonance. I'm into that. But the whole thing glued together just doesn't do it.
I also like the idea that, like, he can't die unless Swan wants him or lets him die.
Yeah.
So, like, his fate is literally tied to this record producer that just wants him to keep churning shit out.
Yeah. He's
so,
imprisoned.
Yeah. I think it's really cool. I think, like, the satire of the music industry, it hasn't changed.
No, it's worse.
Yeah.
If anything, this was the glory days.
Yeah. The only thing that's changed now is that you wouldn't die in a record press. You'd be crushed by an MP3 or something.
You could die in a record press. Didn't he nearly die in the record press in this movie?
Yeah.
Wasn't there a malfunction? Yeah. Yeah.
A thing that I think is fun is that Winslow wears the thickest glasses I have ever seen anybody wear in my life. But he just doesn't need them when he's a Phantom.
Yeah. Milk bottles. I mean, he only has one working eye when he's a Phantom, and he's not got much to lose, really, is he?
No, but he's still writing music. How's he doing that with no vision?
Yeah, true. He should have had a monocle. That would have been brilliant.
That would have been brilliant.
So for me, I think maybe what's happening here is like, how you have all your favorite foods, and if you mash all your favorite foods together in a bowl, it doesn't taste nice. Well, what would your rock musical be then, Jamie? I'm not saying it should be called the Four Horsecocks of the Chip Apocalypse or whatever you just said, but what would your rock musical be?
I mean, it wouldn't be a million miles away from this, Sam. It wouldn't be a million miles away from Phantom of the Paradise.
I knew you were going to fucking say that. The Muppets haven't got a rock musical, have they? But their musicals are superb. Their musical numbers are so wonderful.
It's pretty magic that, like, so much of the music in the Muppets movie is written by the same guy that wrote the music for this.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the best Muppets songs are Jason Segel songs.
That is, I mean, you're out on a limb. I'm soaring off the limb. Yeah,
some of the best. Muppet Christmas Carol is unfuckwithable. I don't know who wrote those. It definitely wasn't Paul fucking Williams.
I don't think it was either.
I also got to get off my chest that I find him fucking repulsive. can't stand the fucking guy.
That's kind
I
of
know
the
he's
point.
meant to be.
Yeah.
I know. But he's just such a fucking knob. I find him so hard to be around in this movie. His voice, his mannerisms, his look, the whole thing is just vomit-inducing to me.
He looks
Not on
such
a personal level, like you're ugly or whatever. Just they've constructed him in such a way that just makes my skin crawl off my body and run away.
Well, like you say, that is on purpose, but
Yeah, but it ruins it. It's so.
it's
not good satire to me if it's too fucking close.
It's
It's
such a
just
lot,
horrible.
isn't it? It
Yeah.
looks like a little weird mini fucking Cliff Richard.
I don't really feel this way about many people in the world, but he looks so like unwarrantedly punchable. Like you just want to fucking beat him to death, and for doing nothing. Like he's not a horrible guy. He's not like Elon Musk or something. But you just want to fucking pull his little head off.
I mean, his first line that he delivers when he's actually on screen is the homophobic F slur. So.
Is it? That's his first on-screen line.
Yeah, when he walks into the room and he's like, "Get this fag out of here."
Yeah, pretty funny. In context, in the time, he goes off to a department store and dresses like such a bad woman. So funny. He's just like trying to writhe around in a pile of hot women. He's this tall, gangly goofball in a dress.
Well, see, like
Remember me?
you're laughing, so I'm
That's really funny.
I think you like this movie more than I thought you did. It's good. It's good. This is good for me.
That is a really funny moment. But again, it's the shooting of it and the there seems to be a lack of respect or understanding of the comedic process in this movie, because you have to kind of make it funny. It isn't delivered well. It isn't shot in a way that is conducive to a comedic response. It's like anti-comedy, but without really wanting to be, which kind of just makes it bad. But the retelling of it and the mental replaying of it to me is hilarious.
I think like it's everything is shot in a really specific and weird way that it becomes it's what Brian De Palma does or did until the studio system squeezed every drop of creativity out of him, and now he makes the most boring fucking movies ever. Same thing happens to
What does he make
Cronenberg.
now?
Like he
Does
just
he
made
make Hallmark Christmas movies?
like no, he makes like movies, ostensibly Hollywood movies, but they just look boring.
Oh, okay.
Like Snake Eyes wasn't particularly interesting. You don't look at Snake Eyes and go, "Yeah, that's the guy that made Carrie and Phantom of the Paradise." Do you know what I mean?
True. Yeah, Carrie is a really interesting movie visually, but it's a bajillion miles from this, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Brian De Palma in the 70s and 80s was a guy who could synthesize specific influences. Do you know, like when a band, let's say, off the top of my head, the band Our Time Down Here, you could tell when they were like, we want to make an Alkaline Trio record. We want to make an AFI record. When you're able to sort of synthesize those influences to a point where you can create something that is very specifically that, despite the fact that you have all of these other influences. We know you love Hitchcock. We know you love Akira Kurosawa. We know you love Orson Welles. But like, that's a thing that Brian De Palma is really special at. It's like when he made Dress to Kill, he's working specifically through a Hitchcock and like a Mario Bava, like Giallo type lens. Giallo films are Italian slasher films.
Thank you. I was going to ask.
And
way to ruin a fucking slasher. Make it in Italy. Whoa, boy. This guy fucking directed Mission Impossible.
Yeah. Which
so
I
he's
think
saying,
is
he's like,
visually-
I'm going to make a spy movie, and he makes Mission Impossible. And he's saying, I'm going to make a classic rock video, and he makes Dancing in the Dark for Bruce Springsteen. And then fucking The Untouchables is like his take on what is The Untouchables? I don't even know what to call it.
I think like he's just able to pick a thing that he wants to make or that he wants to represent visually.
Yeah.
And if I was to do that, I'd be like, well, okay, I saw this shot in this movie and this shot in this other movie, and my brain would be so cluttered by all of the pop culture that I've experienced that I would only be able to make like a pop culture blancmange, whereas he's able to like disregard everything that isn't pushing forward the thing that he wants to represent in that moment.
Sure.
And it's a really shrewd way to direct. I think like as a director, he doesn't get great performances out of his actors ever. I think he was incredibly lucky with Sissy Spacek
and John Travolta.
Sure. But like I don't think he's there for the performance. He's there for the visual, which is why the comedy in like the scene where we started talking about with Winslow in the bed with all of the sexy audition girls is like we're not supposed to know that that's Winslow until the big reveal.
Yeah.
But like obviously it's him because he's 5 feet taller than literally every other person there and is wearing a fucking house dress. Like
he's like hairy legs and shit.
Yeah. So
it's like you see his face, it's clearly him.
So like you're meant to know that something is weird here, but like it's meant to be like a big mush of body parts and people doing lesbian stuff.
Yeah.
His comedy sensibility isn't great, but he's able to somehow squeeze out these funny moments. I don't think he's a funny guy with a sense of humor at all.
Right.
Like,
I mean, I'd be surprised, but you know, I've been surprised before.
Yeah. He doesn't talk about this movie in interviews.
Right.
And I don't know why. I've read one interview with him about it, and that was from like when it first came out.
Yeah.
And like he didn't seem like he was pretty down on it. Like,
was it possible he was like high as fuck or something? I know that's a really boring thing to suggest, but the movie does have a very psychedelic edge to it.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some drugs involved in the production of this movie.
Nor would I. But I don't know.
But then wouldn't somebody be like, "Hey, Beef, this is how you take drugs," rather than him throwing the cocaine up his nose?
Which I thought was also funny.
Like it is funny.
And then when they tell him it's speed, I was like, "Oh, you've done so much speed, an enormous amount of speed." But again, the drug reference there is off, isn't it? Because he's talking about hallucinating, and then they talk about speed, and it made me think, "Oh, are all these guys nerds?"
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm unable to land on a solid opinion here. I just think the comedy is either, like you said, everything in this movie feels so deliberate. It's either every single shot is completely deliberate and perfectly his vision, or it's all completely haphazard nonsense madness that happens to fall together in a coherent way. I have no idea. But the comedy is either to the same logic, very offbeat and very interesting, but ultimately not, ultimately harmed by being so offbeat, or it's just poorly delivered good gags. I don't know. And a lot of it feels that way to me. It feels like puzzle pieces not quite fitting together and not quite working in a way that's pleasing enough to be, an overall film. I don't give a fuck about the narrative either. I could not give two fucks what happens in this movie. I also don't really know what's happening for most of it.
I mean, that's fair. And like I say, I think it does start to sort of tumble away after the Beef stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if my experience of it was the same as your like repeated viewings. I don't think I found the tail off to be quite so pronounced at that point. I think there was a dip in the middle, and I was kind of back at the end. The big climax scene was interesting to me because nothing in the film has been predictable so far, really. You're somewhere in Phantom of the Opera land, you're sort of somewhere in Goethe, you're sort of drifting around these narratives that are kind of intersecting, but you don't know that anything is, you have no idea how it's going to resolve at the end, and that kind of pulled me back. I was like, well, it's obviously reaching a climax. It's going to be interesting, if anything. All hands on deck for the ending. And I did find the ending quite compelling. I like that it's in no way a happy ending. Classic fucking downer ending. Enjoyed that.
Yeah, I mean, I like the way that the shooting of the sort of sniper stuff is great. It feels like the fucking Zapruder
Mission Impossible
film or Mission Impossible.
Yeah. Or there's a release the Zapruder tape. Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like Altamont. It feels like real
Yeah.
footage. You know what I mean? It's great.
Yeah. I love the Beef's death scene, by the way. The sort of like shock.
Yeah.
Because I can't figure out really what's happening there. It's not like strobe effect. It's something interesting.
Yeah, I think like it's my guess is it's like fake strobe. You know, like
a frame
yeah.
jerk type situation. But it almost looks like only he's moving, which is really cool. It's just a really cool effect that I enjoyed. I like Beef's death.
Yeah. I love Garrett Graham. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah, he's quite possibly the only character I cared about in this movie, I think.
He's so...
Apart from the Juicy Fruits, who are quite possibly my favourite band.
Well, the Juicy Fruits were the band all the way through. You're aware of that, right?
I know, but in their Juicy Fruits incarnation, they were at their
You
peak.
didn't like them as the Undead with their song. What was the song that they sang? Somebody Super Like You, whatever it was.
Nah, didn't enjoy that at all.
That's weird because that's such like an Alice Cooper-y type vibe.
Yeah, but Alice Cooper's the king of that. And this is another thing, like, you're talking about so much stuff that influences this movie, which to me just kind of smacks of a very derivative movie, which this isn't. But aspects of it like that just feel a bit derivative in a way that isn't fun to me. Like,
yeah.
if I'm going to watch shit like that, I want Alice Cooper. You know, if I'm going to watch, you know, if I want these things to be referenced, I'll watch them. I don't really enjoy this kind of satire. I don't really enjoy this kind of like pastiche or whatever it is. It's just not really for me.
I think like when this came out, it wasn't like you could just do that. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh, maybe Alice Cooper will do our movie.
Yeah, and for for the time, like I keep saying, I think it's pretty fucking groundbreaking. It's probably really important artistically to a lot of people that wanted and needed to see a counterculture movie addressing things through the vehicle of rock music that was also satirizing the music industry, that was also making a comment on, you know, the role or place of women in a gross fucking industry. And that was, you know, kind of pushing a really interesting visual toward, at least trying to push it towards the mainstream. It sounds like they actually wanted to make this a mainstream success, even though that seems mental to me. But it feels like...
Can you imagine a world where this was a mainstream success? Like, what does that world look like?
Winnipeg in 1974.
That's
they haven't got anything
back
else.
to Winnipeg.
Winnipeg me, daddy. Yeah, I just... Yeah, I get how important it probably was to a lot of cool people. Look at it that way. You know, the fact that I know that you and Rue love this movie is enough for me to have the utmost respect for its existence. I think it's probably really fucking important to a lot of people's artistic sensibilities. It probably had a profound influence on a lot of cool people. You know, we joked about Noel Fielding. I guarantee without this, you don't get Boosh.
Yeah.
And that's a sad loss on its own, you know. So all that kind of stuff, everything that comes after a movie like this, which I feel is slightly iconoclastic in its canon, is what makes it important and interesting to me. The actual watching of it, not so much. It's like a band like Suicide. They're not really that fun to listen to, but they're so fucking important that you do go back and listen to them. You know?
I think Suicide is important.
They spawn a genre. You are?
I said I think Suicide is important.
I thought you might. Suicide's vital, okay?
Yeah.
And
everybody needs a bit more
so
suicide in
much.
their life.
Agreed. Since we've analysed this in a lot more detail, I think I'm starting to understand that it might just be rock music that ruins this for me. If this was a post-punk musical and it was set in the Bowery in New York and it was all television and James Chance and the Contortions, or, you know, all these like crazy, scrunky, maniac, grimy post-punk bands, it might be more my cup of tea. And that doesn't mean, you know, that should be a thing. That would be terrible. But
I think it, because it would never be that. It would be...
Yeah.
It would be fucking Lars Frederiksen writing songs as if they were by those bands. Do you know what I mean?
Kill me with a gun. No thanks, don't want that. So what it is then, I think, is I love all of that music, and I love the role it plays in the development of punk and modern music, and I love all of the avant-garde aspects of that, the performance art, the crazy shifts in every single dimension of that music and where it goes, you know, in terms of music history. And I don't like any of that about rock or glam at all. I don't find it interesting. I think it's gross, bloated, self-indulgent, just disgusting music from front to back for the most part. I don't enjoy the melodic sensibility of a lot of rock. So just wasn't as much for me to grab and hang my hat on in this movie as there would have been had it been, just different musically, I guess.
Yeah.
There's so much music in this film. Do you know what I mean? If you don't like the music, you're going to struggle.
I think again, we've not mentioned this, but a thing that I really like about the way that the music is used in this as well is that it's not treated like a musical. The music is there.
Yeah, it's not narrative. Yeah, it makes no sense. It's not sequitur for the most part.
It's there, and it does reference things that are that are in the plot, but sort of slightly obtusely. But it's all actually performance that the characters are doing, and I think that that is a way to do a musical that I think if you're scared of doing a musical.
Yeah, it's initially it felt like a cheap gotcha that the first song had fuck all to do with the rest of the movie, nothing to do with it narratively.
It doesn't. But it does. The idea that this character, this guy Eddie, kills himself in order to become a rock star because he knows he'll be more famous once he's dead. It's a whole. It's not.
I get it. That happens in every song, right?
Yeah, it's not the Men in Black song from the end of the movie Men in Black, where it's just the plot of the movie. But
that's what I mean, though. In most musicals, you're getting narrative, aren't you?
Yeah.
In a genre tight musical, the characters are telling you what's happening in the movie, and this is more subtle. It's more thematic. It's more referential. It's more, I guess, prophetic in certain parts, which happens in musicals. So my initial reaction was, oh well, that sucks. You've just pulled the rug out from under me completely. This has nothing to do with the film. Okay, off we go. And then you learn it does have a little bit to do with the film, but it's very soft touch. So then I start to think, well, I haven't been got. I've been led in a certain direction, and that's good filmmaking. I've been put in the position that I need to be in to appreciate what's happening in this movie, and that's good. But the sort of basic bitch in me is well, that song was good and all the others suck, and now this movie is just pure chaos. So I felt a little bit more of that would have been potentially more fun for me.
My favourite song in the movie is the only song that's like a non sequitur, like a non-diegetic bit of music, which is when Winslow is going to Swan Song Records. It's not Swan Song Records, is it? It's Death. And it's Records, I never thought I'd get to meet the devil. I think it's fucking great. That
jaunty, because that's a Zevon tune. I knew you'd love that.
Yeah.
Pure Zevon, yeah. So jaunty and bouncy and fucking annoying. Do you think the Death logo was directly ripped off by Atticus Clothing, the Blink-182 clothing brand?
I don't know if I think that Tom DeLonge would have seen this movie.
I think Atticus is way more Mark Hoppus's brainchild, and I think there's no way on earth he hasn't seen this. He loves Hedwig. He's a massive Cure fan. There's no way the Cure didn't see this and fucking lose their minds. I'd be really surprised if it's just a crazy coincidence. Do you know what I mean?
It's very similar.
Yeah, it's a different bird, but it's very similar.
Yeah. They
always claimed it was a To Kill a Mockingbird reference, Atticus. But that's just the name. They didn't say anything about the logo.
Well, yeah. Is it a mockingbird that's dead?
I don't know. It's too generic. I bet we can find out. I bet if we ask one of our producers or one of our fact checkers, we can probably find out.
I always thought it was a swallow.
Too much bosom to be a swallow, I would say. It's a nightingale.
To kill a nightingale.
Fucking ridiculous, isn't it? Fuck's sake. Yeah, I would genuinely be surprised if there's not some kind of connection there. There's even some early iterations of that logo that are more scrunky and scratchy. And do you think Death Skateboards stole this bit? Or do you think death is just a word that you want associated with your skateboard brand?
Death is just a word that I want.
I mean, again, I'm talking about the cultural influences. It's possible. I don't know.
It is possible. I think,
it's not a movie that's referenced a lot by people. What are your influences? Phantom of the Paradise. It's not really a thing.
It's one of those things that, if you know, then you know. You can look at The Mighty Boosh, or you can look at, some, avant-garde theatre troupe from Torquay and be like, yeah, obviously you love Phantom of the Paradise.
Yeah.
Should we take a break, Sam, and come back and finish this off?
Sure thing.
Come on, man. Does that thing even work? No. There's nothing out there. It's just dead air.
Oh, that was a good break.
It was a great break. Can I ask you a question about if you were going to soundtrack your own punk rock musical, what label would you entirely populate the soundtrack with?
Probably Hopeless. Oh, no. Red Scare Industries, I would say, Jamie.
Yeah.
A record label based in Chicago, purveyors of the finest punk rock music in the world, primarily available on the internet at redscare.net.
Go to redscare.net. Get some music. Meet the devil. Fuck him. I don't know.
Another perfect ad nailed. So, Jamie, we're at the part of the podcast now where you have to, by legally binding, blood-signed, 600-page contract, rate this movie.
Yeah. Okay. I think this is a great movie. I think it's lionized in my brain probably to be better than it actually genuinely is.
Yeah.
But I am, despite being, chubby man in his 30s, an absolute mark for a sci-fi horror fantasy themed musical. Like that's just, I'm the target demographic for that.
Maybe you're not chubby anymore.
I'm still chubby, I would say.
You're not chubby.
I got the cheeks.
And if you want to see those cheeks, you can sign up to our Patreon for $5 a month.
Yeah.
If you want to see my cheeks,
that's the only fans.
Yeah, exactly.
The only fan.
I'm the only fan on my OnlyFans. That's just selfies of my ass. Anyway, you were rating a movie there before I told you weren't chubby.
Like I will watch any of them. Any horror themed musical, even if it's directed by fucking Darren Lynn Bousman. Like I'll watch it. That's just who I am.
Darren Lynn Bousman?
Directed a bunch of Saw movies and directed Repo, the genetic opera.
Wow. Okay. I mean, you won't just watch them. You'll then watch reaction movies of them for days on end.
Yeah, absolutely.
You are the target audience.
I've watched the musical episode of Buffy, I would probably say, in my life, including reaction videos, 350 times.
Fucking hell, Jamie. Oh, good grief.
The Buffy musical episode is very good.
Yeah, it's not bad. 350 times. Fucking hell.
I had it on DVD at one point and I would just watch it every day.
Most people will watch that on TV in their teens and be like, that was pretty good. I'll talk to my friends about it at school, and never even think about it again for the rest of their lives. You watched it 350 times.
I had it on DVD. I had the CD soundtrack. Like, it's who I am. You put musical and genre, something genre-y, sci-fi, horror, fantasy, whatever, you mash that with a musical, and I am so in.
Do you like Grease?
I liked Grease. I went off it because I watched it so much when I was a teenager that it just became unwatchable to me. I was also in a high school production of Grease.
Yeah. Why wasn't there a Jamie Grease phase? That's what I want to know.
I mean, there was. I was just 15.
Oh, okay. 15-year-old Kanicki Jamie.
Yeah, with my leather jacket and my slicked back hair. I could probably find you a photo if you want.
I'd love that. You should put it on the Patreon, really. I've got a message from Jamie Carruthers. Fucking hell. You look like you're in Borstal. What is happening? Who are you with?
That's
Tory
my friend,
boy.
That's my friend Mark Rogers. He was wearing a suit for some reason. I don't know why.
He looks like Tory boy. Good work. Good from you. Bring it back. Are you wearing... Looks like you're wearing a polo shirt under your leather jacket. Is that possible?
I think it's just a V-neck black T-shirt.
Cool. I like it. Bring it back. Fucking hell. You look like you're in the yo-yos.
I can't bring it back because I don't have any hair.
Wear a wig. Do what you gotta do. I don't care.
You can see in that photo that my hair is already kind of receding. I've got like a widow's peak on the side of my head.
Yeah. Did you ever get into the yo-yos?
No, I don't think so.
Good band. One of the guys from the Wild Hearts. Bad band.
So yeah, that was my Grease phase. Sam?
Pretty fucking greasy, bud.
Yeah, that was my being in the Meteors phase.
Yeah, I can feel the grease just from touching my phone.
Like, I love all of the reference points of this movie. I know what you mean when, like, it doesn't really hang together as a film for me. It becomes a bunch of cool shit that just kind of happens. But I'm so okay with that.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the last, like I say, all the stuff post-beef, then this would be a perfect movie for me. But the stuff that happens post-beef, it does come back at the end a little bit. That sort of assassination scene is cool, and them pulling the mask off and all the audience killing Swan. Like that's cool and cathartic in a way that it's like, yeah, of course, even though the audience loved you, like they still destroyed you because you're just a musician at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And Philbin getting shot. I don't know why Philbin getting shot wasn't the plan the whole time. Because, like, if people just want to see an assassination live on TV, why does it have to be Phoenix? But whatever.
Yeah. I don't understand any of the logic of this movie, by the way. I don't understand why he doesn't just buy the music off of him or just hire him. I don't understand any of it. But yeah, carry on.
Well, because he doesn't want anyone to sing his cantata but him, I guess.
Yeah, but he could have easily got around that. Just let him in the building, have a chat with him. He's a nice guy. Just don't give it to the Juicy Fruits. That was his only thing was that he wanted that woman to sing it, and she ended up singing it anyway. I don't understand the film. Makes no sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would give it 8 neon lightning bolts to the chest out of 10.5.
Whew, 8 out of 10.5.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fucking lightning bolts, bud.
Yeah. It's a lot of electricity coursing through my bloodstream.
Yeah. Well, there you have it, people. James rating.
What about you? How do you rate a film that you understand the legacy of and respect but don't enjoy?
Fucking 1 out of 10. No, I'm kidding.
Thanks for listening to our last episode. And
yeah. Now I know if I go above 1 out of 10, I might be allowed back. So I do think if you combine all your favorite foods, you get something pretty disgusting, right? What this movie is for me is a combination of maybe one of my favorite foods and then a lot of dog shit, which is obviously not nice. But if you pick out the bits of food that you like from the dog shit and then eat them, you're still eating dog shit. Yeah. That's what I think of this movie.
I think like if you pick out the corn kernels from your own poo, it'll taste more like corn than it would like poo.
Well, much like eating the corn kernels from your own poo, the second time around, you're more likely to chew them. And I think that's what this conversation has been for me. It's been chewing the corn kernels from my own shit. So I understand a lot more about the film by that process, which I think is important. You know, that's an important part of experiencing a film, is not just being like, well, I didn't enjoy that, it must be rubbish. I do think this film has a profound legacy. I think it's visually really interesting, and I think it's made with a real conscious effort to satirize things that deserve satirizing. I just think ultimately, on a pure basic entertainment level, it isn't for me. So, you know, with all that in mind, I have to give it some fucking serious points, because it does what it sets out to do, in my opinion, which is the main criteria for me. Does it do what it sets out to do, and does it entertain me? So, yes in one column, no in the other. I would give it 4.5 plunges to the mouth in the shower out of 14.
That's quite low, but
it's pretty low, yeah. I mean, I'll never watch it again, and that's another reference point for me. Is like, do I have any desire to experience that again? No. Did I enjoy it the first time around? Not really. Is it an important and fairly wonderful little piece of art in the world, which is really fucking valuable to the human experience? Yes. Fucking A.
Yeah, it's. I think like similar to say Warren Zevon, who was often talked about as like your favorite artist's favorite artist. Like sometimes that degree of separation and that degree of channeling that influence through somebody else is what you actually want, rather than the raw thing at the beginning. Like I'm happy for the raw thing at the beginning, but sometimes people want the journey from the inciting, interesting, good thing filtered through a few different people's sensibilities before it like reaches the world. Some people are okay with that, and I think that's fine too.
Yeah, totally. 100% agree. And like I said, the fact that this will entertain lots of people who I love dearly makes it fucking magic. I think that's awesome. And I love that they like it.
Well, I love you, Sam, and I enjoy doing a podcast with you, even when your opinions are wrong.
Yeah, shame it's my last episode. Goodbye, everyone. It's been a great run.
Will Sam be back next time? Find out on next week's episode of Final Transmission. Until then, follow us on social media at FT Horror Show on all the channels that have stuff going on them that aren't full of Nazis. And we'll see you next week.
Good luck with that. See you next week, maybe.